Hi everyone, I'm Kasturi Sha and I've secured All India rank 68 in the UPSC Civil Service examination, and this was my first attempt. I'd like to talk to you about how I prepared for prelims and how I cleared prelims. And there are two important things that I'd like to highlight. First is the importance of patience, and second is the importance of practice. Because initially when I took a lot of these prelims test series, the sectional tests, the micro tests, I found that for some subjects I was scoring comfortably well, say like economics, but for a subject like say for science and tech, I was not that strong. So one thing I'd say is take as many tests as possible, the sectionals as well as the comprehensive tests, because that will help us identify which areas are we strong at and which areas we need further improvement at, and so that we can accordingly prioritize our revision when it comes. So that is one advantage of taking the tests, maximum tests. So test, and through that we'll discover ourselves. And second thing, why patience, is because when the scores start dropping, say we're not able to make it to say even an 80, it might get stuck at 60s and 70s. But the thing is holding on, going on, believing in yourself and putting in effort in a consistent manner. That consistency will ultimately make an impact. So that is practice and patience. So prelims, as we know, has got two papers: the GS paper where we learn all the subjects, the general studies, current affairs, history, geography, and almost all the things. And secondly, we have the CSAT paper. So about the GS paper, one thing that matters is that keeping the mind open and giving the mind a chance to think and guess, rather than the mind working as a Google search engine, where as soon as we see a question, the first thing the mind would think would be in which book, in which page, in which area did I read this, and then the mind goes asking itself, pressurizing itself, think in which area did you find this. But rather than that, keep your mind open. We never know what we have heard or what we have seen. Might be a casual talk that we have had, but it might help us immensely in cracking a prelims question. So one thing would be to have that open thinking ability, and for that we need to, to have that open thinking ability, we need to keep our mind very calm and peaceful and not get stressed. As we know, the last prelims, when we got the question papers, there was an initial shock because there was a change in this pattern. It was nothing like what we had been used to in the previous years. But what matters is the presence of mind and the ability to adapt and be flexible in that moment. First thing is to accept that yes, questions have changed. Now I'll have to change myself, get flexible according to the nature of these questions. And another thing is not letting go. Because I still remember when I sat for my prelims examination, I did not know the answers. I did not bubble even a single answer on my OMR sheet for the initial 7 questions. So I was leaving all the questions, and ultimately when I came to the 8th question, I could bubble one. So the first question that I bubbled was the 8th question. But that doesn't mean we'll have to give up hope thinking everything is over. No, the questions that will be waiting for us further from the 8, we need to hope on that. We need to trust all the sincere effort, all the process that we have endured. So that practice that we have done will help us definitely hone the skills of solving a question. And coming to CSAT, as we know, CSAT will have the English comprehension, there will be the numerical reasoning and the logical reasoning part. So first thing is to identify which areas are you comfortably strong at. For example, I was not very strong in maths. I left maths in class 10, and also regarding solving of questions, mathematical ability, I was not pretty confident. But when it came to English comprehension part, I could comfortably manage that. So the focus area on the first hour, I used to solve the English comprehension questions first, and the next hour I used to set it apart for the maths questions. But with CSAT, what is most important is reducing the number of errors that we could commit. and solving those short questions which we are confident will fetch us marks. So if we can reduce the negatives itself, then to a large extent the CSAT scores would improve. For instance, if you are a person who is strong in, say, logical reasoning, maybe the first hour you can devote to solving your comfortable areas, and that will itself give us a confidence boost when you find yourself answering the questions that you know. And then come to, say, if you're weak in English comprehension, then you can spend another hour in English comprehension and solve those questions which you're sure of without getting unnecessary negatives. And also CSAT also, the time management becomes really very important. Initially I used to find it very hard to manage time, and then with practice, like solving previous year questions as well as taking test series, I found that CSAT also could be manageable. So in the prelims process, a very important thing is endurance and staying in that game till the last question is being solved. It's not like you see the first 50 questions and then we think, oh, exam is difficult. No, the rest 50 questions are waiting for us, and every question is an opportunity. So this is what this is what my sir told me, and this kept coming back to my mind every time I was in the prelims hall, thinking, okay, every question is an opportunity. It's just like you play this Kaun Banega Crorepati game. Every question is an opportunity. You're going to face it. So facing that and overcoming it. So that was the prelim strategy. So now let me tell you about the strategy that I adopted for mains preparation. One thing was answer writing. Second thing was revising things. And another thing was getting the answers corrected and getting proper feedbacks on time. So when it comes to preparation for mains, soon after the prelims, we know there's a shift in the method of study that we've been doing, because till prelims we've been solving the MCQs. Now we need to write elaborate answers, and also within that stipulated amount of time that we have before us, we need to generate content and write. So the first thing was I went through the previous year questions of mains, and I identified what are the areas from where maximum questions are being asked related to the syllabus. So I took the syllabus and I took the previous year questions, and I did kind of this analysis where I found out from which topic are they asking lots of questions, or how are the questions being framed. So that understanding the demand of the exam. So that was the first step. And after that I went through the sample answers of these previous year questions. You get it online. So I read the sample answers online, and also I referred to some of the topper copies. I read through the topper copies, especially of ethics in GS3, GS2. And also some of the essays of toppers. So that now you know how to write answers, what is the demand of this question, things like that. And now it comes to regular answer writing practice. Already before prelims I had written a few answers, but the challenge now was to write answers within that short period of time. So the content that we have, how can we present it effectively in such a way that it will appeal to the examiner as well. So I set time regularly, like for half an hour daily. I used to practice answer writing in the evening, and apart from that, weekly there used to be this mains test series that used to happen. So that is how the process went. Regular studying, revising things, and practicing that answer writing within that limited period of time. Now for mains I did prepare notes, so I'd like to share with you the note making strategy that I followed for mains. For prelims specifically, I did not write any notes as such. I was just following the standard books and the NCRTs. I used to highlight and underline in the books itself. When it came to mains, I realized the importance of having ready reckoners like examples, statistics, facts, quotes, and case studies, which will help you to decorate our answers a little bit more rather than simply stating things. For example, rather than writing there is water shortage in India, if we can bring in say a relevant example or a quote or a statistics which comes from a reliable report, it would also give credibility to our answers. So So I started noting down those points from the newspapers, then from sources like Yojana, Kurukshetra, websites like the Better India, and also from topper copies. I got these ready list of examples which I'll be able to sprinkle throughout in my answers. So that was the note making strategy. And another thing about mains was multiple revisions, especially for the optionals. Rather than having several sources, let's have a base source for the optional, and over I just went through it. Every time there was a test, I used to go through the chapters, read it, revise it again. I used to make some short notes for the optionals as well, which would help me remember the names of thinkers, the books that they have written, or the quotes that they have said, the concept that they have introduced. For example, for Emil Durkheim, we have the 4 types of suicide. So I used to write down, okay, Emil Durkheim, he talks about suicide in his book, title of the book, and the 4 types of suicide, or like that. So, or what Karl Marx has said about class conflict, the quote. So such things which the mind would find it difficult to remember, if we could have these short notes just before you enter for the exam, you can just quickly brush up these things. So that is how note making becomes relevant for mains. And so that was how the mains preparation went. Okay, now let's discuss about the answer writing strategy. For the answer writing strategy, the first thing is in understanding the question. What is the question asking for? And from the question itself, we'll be able to frame the subheadings for our answer. Or in other words, we'll be using subheadings by deriving the same words which are used in the question itself. So we'll have a structure, like there'll be an introduction, the body part, and in the body part is where we'll bring in the subheadings. Another advantage of bringing in the subheadings is that we'll be able to address all the parts of the question comprehensively. We'll not miss out any part of the question, or we'll not leave anything unaddressed. So having these subheadings and bringing in variety in your answers rather than making it monotonous where every answer looks the same. I think the visual aspect is also important. Just imagine, like, the examiner might have to go through several answer papers a day. So when the examiner comes across a slightly interesting, something that has got this visual impact, that will also create a visual appeal. And just like any other human mind, it will also fetches more marks. So we can bring in short diagrams, maps. The India map as well as the world map is useful for papers in GS1 as well as GS3. Then bringing in flow charts, especially in papers like ethics paper, GS4. And also in ethics paper, another thing which we can bring in to enhance the quality of answers is bring in interesting quotes. Like from the Upanishads, the Vedas, the Bible, Quran, the Gita. So diversify the source of your quotes. And if every answer that we write in GS3, if you can align it with a government program or catchphrases like the Amrit Kal or Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, especially towards the conclusion, that will also bring in a government perspective to the answers that you are writing. So and also when we put in bullet points, it's not necessary that all the answers should be in bullet points. You can use a mix of paragraphs and bullet points, or even when we use the bullet points, rather than having this monotonous way of putting a dot as a bullet point, if you can put an arrow in a question, another question, if you can draw a box, that will look quite different as well. So and even if we come across a question that we have not learned obviously anywhere, but we need to really attempt it. We do not have the luxury of leaving a question unanswered. Say a 20-marker question or 15-marker question, we cannot leave it unanswered. So the thing is about attempting it, again using that kind of your guessing skills that we have already developed during the prelims. For example, if you might remember, there was a question in GS2 which was about the International Maritime Organization, and that's not something that we regularly come across or we read about. But having that ability to think, to brainstorm your mind when you hear of maritime, to bring in points there and to craft an answer, and within that time limit, and that is something that will come with regular answer writing practice. So and also making use of the sources that we have, to have a basic source, to revise it multiple times and then practice writing answers. So that was the answer writing strategy. So let me share with you my ethics preparation strategy. I was able to score 124 marks in the GS paper 4, which is ethics. So the strategy and the sources that I used. Firstly, there is a text called by Balaji, the Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude text. That was my base source. Apart from that, I also supplemented it with my class notes. So more than the materials for ethics, I think what matters is the way we present the answers, because ethics is something that is inherent in all of us. There is nothing like, it's not like learning say polity or economy. It is something that we all know, and it's more about the way we write the answers and express ourselves. And there are some things that we can use to value add answers when it comes to the ethics paper. One thing is using these quotes, like say from the Vedas, the Upanishads, and different sources, the Bible, the Quran, etc. And another method is to bring in case studies. If you go through magazines like Yojana, Kurukshetra, we'll be able to find out case studies of good practices that has worked out. For example, a village coming together and the effort that they have put in to say eradicate malnutrition. So things like that. Another thing would be there is this website called Better India, where we'll be able to find out the examples from the bureaucrats. For instance, a commendable effort which was undertaken by a district magistrate which helped to solve the problem of say water shortage in a school. So such bureaucratic practices, examples which have made a difference to the lives of people. So such examples that we can use. And also another important thing that will help us in ethics is going through the topper copies. Reading the topper copies, how the case studies have been written especially. Because a challenge when it comes to the ethics paper would be to finish it on time. It is quite lengthy compared to the other GS papers. So the approach that I used was, in the first 2 hours I used to completely devote it to the case studies, because as we know, reading that long case study takes time. Addressing each sub question of the case study is also time consuming. So first focus was on, but the case studies, each case study would have around 20 marks and there will be around 6 case studies. So 6 into 20, so 120 marks itself is for the case study. So that's something that we cannot afford to give up so easily. So the first focus would be on these case studies and reading the case studies and addressing each and every part of the question that is asked in the case study. And for that we can use different examples. We can bring in things that we know. It's not like we can only write things which are asked in the case study. If you know a quote which is related with the topic of the case study, we can bring it in. If we know a relevant statistics, we can bring it in. So making the write the case studies very well itself, that will fetch us a lot more marks. And then coming to the 10 markers, the next 1 hour and kind of like 10 minutes was for the 10 markers. So a very important thing is about finishing and completing the paper. Then when it comes to, there will be questions in ethics where we'll be asked to explain a quote. Thinker's quote will be given and then we'll have to say explain it. So in those questions, try to link those questions with the part of the syllabus it is related to. And if you can use those keywords from the syllabus while writing the answers, it will sound much more authentic. And also about learning definitions of these key terms in ethics, say like attitude or integrity or emotional intelligence. So we need to have certain crisp definitions which we'll be able to use in the answers that we are writing. So that was another part about writing ethics. So ethics is about practice. As many like if you can take about 4 comprehensive tests of ethics before giving the real prelims and trying to finish it within the 3 hours, then I think we'll be able to confidently face the ethics paper in the exam. And ethics is all about being yourself. It's about showing your individuality and creativity. We have lots of scope for free expression of ourselves in the ethics paper. So that was the ethics strategy. So now let's come to the final phase of the civil service examination, which is the personality test. Now this is a phase that as aspirants we would be looking forward to right from the day we start the preparation, right? Going to the Dholpur house, in the Shah Jahan Road and being able to see the UPSC board members to give that interview. That'd be like a very important, a cherished moment of the life that we'd all be looking for. And immediately after the mains, we'll have to fill the detailed application form. So the first focus when it came to the interview preparation was on drafting that DAF. So the DAF 2, which will include things like our hobbies, achievements, the extracurricular activities, if we have any positions of leadership or our involvement in sports. And apart from that, all the our educational records, the personal details, the address and things like that. So the DAF preparation is a very important part of the UPSC preparation. And then another thing would be to look into each and every key terms in the DAF to think maximum questions as possible. And that is when we'll be relying on different sources, like for instance, like GS Score has helped me with that list of questions that they have prepared for me based on my DAF, and so that I could practice making answers, speaking out those answers, thinking about, okay, what would I say if this question is asked to me. So it's interview stage is more about thinking, understanding ourselves, exploring our ideas, rather than merely this kind of a bookish learning which we had done, like mugging up facts or for the prelims or writing answers. So if mains was about answer writing, interview will be about expressing that, speaking out what we have in mind in such a way that what we have in mind should be the exact thing which reaches the audience who is hearing us as well. So and then it will be about the body language, the way we present ourselves, the level of confidence we have, the humility we have. And if we do not know an answer, there's nothing wrong in admitting that sorry, we do not know, or we'll go up and read it up again. So that shows our willingness to learn as well, which is an important personality trait that the board is looking for. And rather than being able to answer all the questions like we write an answer, that's not a way that the board wants. They want an organic kind of a very warm discussion. So for the interview preparation, apart from the DAF, I revised some things from my graduation as it's English literature, and my hobbies were like reading Indian English literature. I run a YouTube channel, so YouTube content creation. Then I also learned some online courses in platforms like Coursera, so taking online courses was another hobby. So these were the things. So we are learning more about ourselves when it comes to the interview preparation, which makes it all the more fun. And I did read up some things on my district, which is Thiruvananthapuram, about my state, Kerala. What are the important tourist places in Kerala, or why is it known as the God's own country? So some interesting questions like that. And also the current affairs. I read 2 newspapers, the Hindu as well as the Indian Express, so that we get diverse perspectives and opinions on the current affairs issues, like the international things which are happening. It was also an election year, so the election related issues which are happening around us. Kerala was going through a financial crisis, so the issues behind that, the reasons, what are the causes for it, or what is impact. So kind of a general reading of the newspapers. And after that, I did practice speaking by taking lots of mocks. I took around 14 mock interviews at different places, and I also got to talk with a lot of senior bureaucrats. So one thing I found was talking with the senior bureaucrats itself will accustom your mind to the kind of the way we need to talk with them, the way we need to answer their questions, how to face unexpected questions when you go for an interview. And so it was a lot of, it was quite fun also interacting with the officers, getting to hear from them, getting to know their thought process, which will obviously be different from us. We are quite young, might be in our 20s, while we be talking to senior people who are in their 60s. So that kind of a thought difference. So attending these mock interviews and taking these one-on-ones and discussions have helped me immensely. And I also used to attend some of the group discussions with the peer mocks. Like we used to have a peer group where we used to attend the group discussions, which was moderated by a sir. So that was how we could club and revise things as well. And I had the board of B.B. Swain sir, and it was on the last day of the interview, the concluding day. It was on April 9th. So that was like the dream day coming alive, coming true. And it was an all male member board. I remember walking in, I was the fifth to go in. And the first, as soon as I sat down, the first question that the chairman asked me was, okay, so you read Indian English literature. Okay, what kind of books have you read? Who are your favorite authors? Now, getting this question was kind of like a God-given moment because I love talking about literature. So then the discussion went on to literature, like why do Indians write in English? So I said, okay, let's have a debate on that. In one of my achievements, I had won the Kerala University debate competition. So sir said, okay, we're going to debate on why should Indians write in English. So we had this brief debate on the Indian English writings and how is vernacular writing different from that. And then sir asked me, then another member asked me about which is that award which is given to writings which are translated from the other languages to English. And suddenly when I got this question, I just couldn't suddenly bring up the answer. So I said, sir, I think this is the answer. If you give me a chance, I can maybe make a guess. So sir said, yes, definitely go ahead, make a guess. And I said, it's the Man Booker Prize. And sir said, yes, it's exactly that. And he was happy to hear that as well. So then we discussed about the Man Booker Prize, the book that won the Man Booker Prize, which is from the recent one from Geetanjali Shri, Her Tomb of Sand, the translated one. So, and then what I found was the board was very interested, very comfortable in taking part in this discussion. It was nothing like a formal job interview that we might come across. It was nothing like a strict viva voce that took place, but it was a warm, friendly conversation taking place among some few great bureaucrats around a small coffee table. And the atmosphere was also quite interesting. I did not get too many of the current affairs questions, but I got a few questions related to Kerala. Like this financial crisis, why is Kerala in a financial crisis, and if you are the judge, like Kerala had taken this issue to the Supreme Court back then, so you are made the judge of this, what will be your judgment? Will you rule in favor of Kerala or in favor of the central government? So a kind of a situation based question was there. And then there were questions like what is the migration pattern in Kerala right now? Like are students migrating to countries like of the West, like America or Canada, or is it more of the West Asian kind of a Gulf migration? So we talked about Kerala migration. And then about the population issues, like for instance, what is the total fertility rate in India now, and then why is India the highly populated country now? When will population stabilize in India? So we discussed a bit on population like that. So, and at the end of it, it was a very good conversation. We could see that the members were happy, and I could get a score of 182 for my personality test. So that was the interview preparation journey. And now for all the aspirants out there, I know you might be putting in a lot of your effort, burning that midnight oil. So the most important thing would be to trust in yourself, to trust the process, that you've been consistent throughout. And for me, whenever I went through these phases of ups and downs, of being doubting myself, or that those points of anxiety where you are not even able to sleep at night. So during those points, it was always a support system that was created by my parents, friends and teachers that provided a safety net for me. So whenever I had an issue, I just could come to my home and I could talk to my father and mother, and they always believed in me, they always trusted the efforts that I was putting in, and I would say that they were more confident in me than I was about me. And also coming to the role of friends, even a school friend or a college friend, that college friend circle that you always had, they will be knowing the person that you are since your childhood, or before you came for the preparation, how you were. So they will be able to understand you much better. So having that peer group of your school and college friends, for me also, my best friends of college as well as from school, they have helped me a lot. Whenever I had these tantrums, whenever I got messed up, I just could call out to them, and they were always there. So having that good support system is also helpful for your emotional health. And if you have a study partner, rather than studying alone, if you have somebody to study with, I studied with Hamis, and studying with him has also helped me to an extent that it will relieve you a lot of that mental pressure of studying alone, because you have another person also studying with you, where you will be able to explain things to each other, work out things together. So having a study group or a study companion would also be immensely helpful in this journey. And above all, it's also about realizing that you are very important than anything else, than even this exam. Without sacrificing your physical and mental health, just put in an honest effort, but doesn't mean that this exam is everything. The civil service exam is just one among the exams, but we are more important than any other exam, and we need to value the person that we are throughout this journey. So it is about being consistent, being confident, trusting in God, and having that element of spirituality, and also believing, having that optimism that at the end of it, it will be a happy chapter, like a well concluded fairy tale. So believing in yourself and going forward, keeping on moving. Even if we are not able to run every day, it's also about making slow and steady steps and keeping things simple without unnecessarily bringing in complications. So I wish all of you all the very best who are listening to me, and thank you.